One of the greatest restaurants in America has sadly said that they're about to file for bankruptcy.
I'm going to attempt to explain why I'm shutting down my restaurant after 6 years of operation.
Word on the curb is she decided to shut down her restaurant, Ladies and Sons, down in Savannah, Georgia, which was a staple of Savannah, Georgia.
Across America, sit-down restaurants are disappearing, and not slowly. They're shutting their doors overnight, turning off the lights, and walking away from buildings that were once packed with families, celebrations, and regulars who promised they'd always come back. But promises don't pay rent, and the bills aren't getting cheaper. Even the giants can't survive. Red Lobster, one of the most recognizable dining chains in the country, isn't just struggling. They're filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, closing locations by the dozens, and admitting publicly that they haven't been profitable in years. And if a national chain with name recognition, advertising budgets, and decades of brand loyalty can't make it, what chance does the average sit-down restaurant have? Restaurants that held on for 6, 10, even 15 years are suddenly gone. These are places that survived recessions, staff shortages, slow seasons, but they can't survive 2025 rising food costs, higher wages, shrinking customer traffic, and a middle class that simply can't afford to dine out anymore have turned the entire business model upside down. Owners aren't talking about growth. They're talking about how long they can keep the doors open before the math breaks completely. What's happening right now isn't a trend, it's a warning. The sit-down restaurant experience, the one so many of us grew up with, is fading, and the places closing today are just the first wave. Check out some of these videos.
One of the greatest restaurants in America has sadly said that they're about to file for bankruptcy. Red Lobster, the largest seafood restaurant in America, is now going to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy next week after earlier this week they announced that they were going to be closing dozens of restaurants. They're saying that Red Lobster suffered from strategic challenges, and all-you-can-eat shrimp deal that executives hoped would turn the chain around contributed to millions of dollars in losses. Red Lobster's majority owner, the seafood supplier Thai Group, said it had lost too much money on the chain earlier this year and wanted to cut bait. So one of the greatest restaurants in all of America is being shut down because too many people took their all-you-can-eat shrimp too literally. And not to mention the cheddar biscuits from Red Lobster were top-notch. Nothing compared to these. But for those of you that used to go out to Red Lobster as a nice-ish fancy dinner, what do you think about this? Are you sad to hear that Red Lobster is sadly going to shut down all of its locations?
Baby, it's the first of the month and Paula Deen is at it already. Word on the curb is she decided to shut down her restaurant, Ladies and Sons, down in Savannah, Georgia, which was a staple of Savannah, Georgia. A lot of tourists loved it, locals loved it. I myself loved it. And it's fine to decide to shut down your business. It's cool. You know, that's your prerogative. But how dare you make that decision and don't inform your employees? Y'all heard me right. She ain't told not one employee that they was finna wake up today and not have a job. Apparently, she made the decision as of yesterday, July 31st. But baby, employees was waking up this morning getting ready for their work shift just to check their notifications of their email and find out that they ain't got no job no more. Also, the severance pay y'all gave them, an employee said it was very minuscule, very minute, very small. Y'all did wrong for that. The employees are upset. They said y'all did them dirty. I think y'all did. Y'all drop in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let me know what y'all think. That's cool. That's cool to just not inform your employees when you finna shut the doors.
I'm going to attempt to explain why I'm shutting down my restaurant after 6 years of operation. Let me start at the beginning. In 2017, in May, I had my first baby. And in September, I married her dad. And in November, I opened a wine bar. The wine bar was supposed to be simple. It was supposed to be small plates, appetizers, and wine. A place where you could come and make an evening after you went wine tasting. You could make a dinner if you wanted to, but you could also just have an appetizer and a drink with a friend. And there would be a good vibe and cool people there, and that's what it was in my head. But it quickly turned into more than that. we started serving more food than just small plates pretty early on. It turned into soup and salad and sandwiches and flatbread pizzas. And then we started doing different daily specials, and we would really put a lot of effort into those because we wanted people to be able to have dinner. So we would do like a dinner entree special every night. And then in the year I opened, my dad was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. At first, I was dealing with some anger about him not helping me more at the restaurant. He had really encouraged me to open it when I said I wasn't ready, when I said, I have this tiny baby, how can I open a restaurant? He's like, you can do both. We'll help you. And then I didn't really feel like I was getting a lot of help. It was a pretty dark time because I very quickly felt a sort of tug of war between my family life and the restaurant. I felt like I couldn't give 100% of myself to my baby or to my restaurant, and that felt awful. And then I also was now dealing with my dad having cancer. So he's getting cancer treatments, and it just felt like a lot at once. And I got really, really depressed. It felt overwhelming and like I couldn't do it. And I continued to do it anyway. In 2019, in January, I had my second baby. I gave birth to my son on January 28th. I was back at work by Valentine's Day, so 16, 17 days after giving birth. I cried a lot about how I didn't want the restaurant to rob me of my time with my newborn. We got through that. Then in 2020, I somehow talked my husband into quitting his job and coming to work at the restaurant full time. A month after he did that, the pandemic hit, and we were all in more than we had ever intended to be all in. And we had to pivot so many times. Takeout only, outdoor dining, can we serve inside? How far apart do the tables have to be? It felt like we were rearranging and recalibrating and coming up with a new plan every single day. This is my little kitten, Daisy. Hi, Daisy. I feel like I'm giving too many details. The point is that I think during the pandemic, I pivoted and pivoted and pivoted because it felt like there was a reason to do so. Like, if I can just get through this, then it'll get better. There's an end to this and it'll get better. But the truth is that tug of war between the restaurant and my family never gets better. It never goes away. In fact, I'd say it's gotten worse as my kids have gotten older, because now they're old enough to ask me, Mommy, do you have to stay at work all night tonight? Mommy, why can't you put us to bed? Mommy, why can't you volunteer in our classroom? Do you have to go to work? Can you stay here with me? So it's actually harder now than when they were babies because they couldn't vocalize to me how much they missed me before, and now they can. And on top of that, it's been a really slow year. This is the first year our sales haven't grown. They are less than they were last year. So I see those negative numbers rolling in, and it's really, really, really discouraging because I feel like I'm giving so much of myself and I'm taking my time and energy away from my family for what? To make less money than I did last year. And it's not like I've ever made a great profit. Like, this is a restaurant. The margins are very thin. And during COVID, was all about survival. So it just doesn't feel worth it. On my dad's deathbed, he said to me, if we were asking him a series of questions, just because we knew that he was dying. So we got the opportunity to ask him things. And somebody asked him what was the key to happiness. And he said that he learned from me, which I didn't realize I had taught him this, but I obviously am not listening to my own advice. But I guess he said that if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. And I can't stop thinking about that, because the restaurant doesn't bring me joy. It never has. It's brought me moments of joy, but it's brought me quite a bit of sadness, quite a bit of feeling like I'm not a good enough mother. I don't even know what it's like to be a mother without having a restaurant. Yeah, I just don't think that this is what I'm meant to do. And I definitely know it's not what I'm meant to do right now. And so I don't want to do it anymore. And that's what it boils down to. And when I finally told my mom that I was strongly considering closing, she said, so do you need some time to think about it? And I was like, no, I don't need to think about it. I've thought about it so much. And I was crying, and she's like, well, why are you crying then? If like you seem upset, so you don't need to think about it. Are you sure? Because you're crying. So it seems like maybe you don't know. And I was like, I'm crying because I want permission from Dad, and I can't get that. And then later that day, I went to the nail salon, and this sounds so woohoo, but I was at the nail salon, and I was getting my nails done, and obviously that's what you do at the nail salon. Anyway, I'm at the nail salon, and a song that my dad used to sing to me, he sang this song a lot, not necessarily to me, but Roy Orbison, Anything You Want, You Got It, came on the same day that I had told my mom I wanted my dad's permission. And I was like, this is a really weird song to be playing in a nail salon. And I started tearing up a little bit because I felt like maybe it was a sign. And not only was that song playing, which was odd, but then one of the nail techs, he started singing along to the song. And then all the women that were getting pedicures started kind of giggling at him, and they started like singing along too. So then everyone in the nail salon was kind of singing along to this Roy Orbison song. That hadn't happened with any of the other songs that had played. And I felt like it was maybe my permission. I thought, well, I'll take that. If that's my permission, I'll take it. And yeah, so I took that as my permission. I made the final decision that day, and I'm not going to do it anymore because it doesn't bring me joy.